Hello and welcome to Sage Thyme. This is Lillian, and welcome to your Blessed Winter Solstice Elemental reading. And this is the reading for fire signs. Dun dun. Look at that. Love it. It says at the bottom, confidence, optimism, passion, and bravery. Those are some of the underlying characteristics that can accompany fire signs, Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. So if you have any, your sun, moon, Venus, or you simply are called to listen to a fire sign reading and compare that to the aspects in your chart, this reading is for you. So as part of your solstice gift from the universe through me to you is a little reading excerpt. I was called very clearly to grab the little book on my distant shelf called The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. This is a favorite book. It's a wonderful read. It's a simple read, and like most simple things, they are profound and complex and wondrous. So I was flipped to page 111, and I'm going to read just the preempt paragraph from 110 and a little snippet of 112. And then we'll get on to your tarot reading and see what the tarot wants to say to complement this particular book reading, if at all. We just don't know. Okay, so the author the author writes, and then he quotes some parts of Winnie the Pooh books, comparing it to Taoism. So the author writes, speaking of that sort of thing, let's return to The House at Pooh Corner, the book. Christopher Robin has just asked Pooh a question. What do you like doing best in the world, Pooh? Well, said Pooh, what I like best. And then he had to stop and think, because although eating honey was a very good thing to do, there was a moment just before you began to eat it, which was better than when you were. But he didn't know what that moment was called. The author writes, the honey doesn't taste so good once it has been eaten. The goal doesn't mean so much once it is reached. The reward is not so rewarding once it has been given. If we add up all the rewards in our lives, we won't have very much. But if we add up the spaces between the rewards, we'll come up with quite a bit. And if we add up the rewards and the spaces, then we'll have everything, every minute of the time that we spent. What if we could enjoy it? The Christmas presents once opened are not so much fun as they were while we were in the process of examining, lifting, shaking, thinking about, and opening them. 365 days later, we try again and find that the same thing has happened. Interesting timing that this was the page I opened up to. I love it. Each time the goal is reached, it becomes not so much fun, and we're off to reach the next one, and then the next one, then the next. It doesn't mean that the goals we have don't count. They do, mostly because they cause us to go through the process. And it's the process that makes us wise, happy, or whatever. If we do things in the wrong sort of way, it makes us miserable, angry, confused, and things like that. The goal has to be right for us, and it has to be beneficial in order to ensure a beneficial process. But aside from that, it's really the process that's important. Enjoyment of the process is the secret that erases the myths of the great reward and saving time. Perhaps this can help to explain the everyday significance of the word Tao, the way. All right, I'm going to stop there. And then there's one more little paragraph I'll read at the end. So today's tarot that wanted to come out for the fire signs, again, very loud and clear. I love it when things are specific to a specific sign or attention to detail astrologically or element, as we've got. So we've got the Patch Tarot, and I love this deck. It's very colorful and fun. And then an interesting balance to come out is the Mystical Shaman Oracle. So we'll see how much that wants to play through. And another more centered balance is the Spirit of the Animals Oracle. So we are all shuffled. Let's go fire signs. What's our message for today? Or for today. Because today is the day that you're watching this. And today is the day that you're contemplating or rewatching it. Because there's only the now. The past no longer exists, and the presence is on, or the future, excuse me, is only a possibility. And to highlight that, we have the Prince of Discs. Prince of Discs also can be considered, of course, the I'm in it, so my thinking mental brain is like not mentally, which I kind of dig. That means the message will come through more. Discs, material. The word's not, earth. The second card that came out, the Two of Discs. So we're bringing in balance, and in reverse, and yes, it wants to go on the other side, is that right? Yeah, the Two of Cups. There it is in upright position. Okay. The Prince of Discs, I love that they put the prince in, the masculine. Often this would be something more of the princess of Earth. Let me bring that back up so you can see some of the detail, hopefully. You can see that he's seated in a meditative position in a field. In the back, and the field that he's sitting in is green and lush, and he's got the planet at his solar plexus and his sacral center, his womb area, because the men in our lives have womb creation areas, of course, too. And the women of us, we have that masculine aspect. There's always one within the other. That's an infinite internal and external expression of ourselves and the world around us. So here in this lush green field, where he's holding the manifestation that he is creating right now, and how it's unfolding, as you can see by the pink watermarked flower of life in front of him, almost projecting itself from the planet that he's holding at his abdomen. It's lush here. There's transformation and metamorphosis. We're seeing the after effects of all the hard work that's done in the chrysalis and the hard work that's done in the caterpillar stage. And behind him is that hard work. You can see the oxen pulled, or the cart being pulled by the oxen, and the barren field. What else do we have here? The farmland. The earth that has been tilled and is behind him, behind this prince. And while the work is behind him, it's always with him. It's always in his present, because what is behind us and what is before us is always within us. And he holds that. I can feel that he's holding that within him, and that knowing. He's got this look of, it almost has a sadness to it, but there's this willingness and openness to learn more. And as he's sitting in stillness and in a picturesque image of peacefulness and abundance, there is an incredible, I'm hearing a self-requirement of himself to remember the balance of the two and to keep the memory and the effects that the struggle and the barren times had on him, even while being in this present moment of abundance. And it's not to hinder or lessen his present bliss moments. It's not because he's waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I know how that is. And so I'm feeling from this that what you have been going through has been this balance, counterbalance of the hardships that were with the abundance and the growth. Books and study, with the light behind it, and the evergreen plant and flowers, and the outside light in this side. So he's balancing and recognizing that both belong to each other and they belong in the present, and they don't have to have an overt expression or experience of bliss or destitution. That the two can coexist, not just next to each other, but you can see here, it's almost as if he's mixing with the colors of the infinity sign. Like he's mixing, when you have a jar of different beans. My daughter used to do this when she was little. Kidney beans, black beans, garbanzo beans, and she'd put them in the jar and they'd all be in layers and they'd be separated. And then she'd have enough room, you'd leave enough room at the top, put the lid on, of just air, and then she'd move them back and forth until the beans, the different colored beans and shaped beans, started integrating. And they didn't homogenize. No matter how perfectly they integrated, they were still individual. And you could still look at each bean and decipher kidney bean, garbanzo bean, pinto bean, so forth. And even the beans amongst themselves, all the kidney beans would look a little different, of course, right? So we can do that with our experiences, and we can keep them in the same jar and not keep them separated. Let them touch each other. Let them create different mosaics as you move them around and try new things with them. And I feel like that's what you've been doing, and you're developing a bit more right now. And I feel like actually also you're starting to either get a glimpse or get a stronger foothold on what that looks like and feels like within you and your daily movements and choices in the outer world and in the social, societal reality. And with that, you're exploring what, not so much what inspires you. I know that's really it's not even the popular thing. It's something that I've always subscribed to personally. But I'm feeling it's less about what inspires you as what you open into and unto, which can be similar to inspire, but inspire often comes with ideas like enthusiasm and joy and want and desire, and this has more of a, just like his expression, a contemplated holding of both future possibilities and past griefs. Yeah. He holds it all within him, and he's still at peace. That sadness, it's still there, but it doesn't it doesn't make him sad. It opens him, and it opens areas in him that he didn't even know were possible. And when those areas open, possibilities that are so beyond concept become into his awareness, which gives an entirely different, what's the word? Format. An entirely different, I keep seeing this playground. And when you go into a playground, you've got the teeter-totter, the swings, the slide, and various other things. But it's generally, when you walk onto a playground, there's no surprises. It's what it is, and a certain variety of different play toys and so forth to climb on and do. But I'm seeing you coming into a, anecdotally, metaphorically speaking, into a playground that you've been to 1,000 times. And there are entirely new toys that you never even thought of were possible, and toys that give you a type of play that you never even considered were a thing. And I think that that's really a great way to play with it, to just know that you're going to walk out onto this playground. It's going to open up within you, and as you step out into the world, and everything will mean and be something not totally different, but so much more that it makes it different. And then we've got the Two of Cups in reverse. Two things come to mind. Remember the value and incredible treasure that you experience, the wisdom that you receive, and the benefits of your growth when you're in solitude. And I feel that this Two of Cups, it's a union card. Sometimes it's considered a union card of two individuals coming together. And it being in reverse isn't a no, you're not going to have it. I'm hearing both no, not yet, and here it is. And I'm looking as the lotus flower is growing upside down. I remember a phrase that I heard from Tibetan monks, and it's no mud, no lotus. And it feels like to me in this card now, the lotus exists not only above the surface of the mud, the tough digging, the going down deep and dark into the recesses, but now it's also growing down. It's growing up, it's growing down. So you're getting this cleansing as the cups are flushing out the more dense and heavy debris of your psyche, of your body. Perhaps a little detoxing is being called into order, especially with the holidays upon us. Sometimes that can get people in their unawares as they get caught up in the go-goings. Yes, and really the idea of staying in your center of self as your primary relationship. And allowing your Two of Cups to be a further embodied actualization, concentration of yourself, bringing in more and more of your consciousness, more and more of your awareness, turning your awareness less to any external stimuli, not just media and the goings-ons of the world around you, but everything. Taking more and more time to be in that presence and to have your sight turned inward. And then by doing that, allowing your greater consciousness to really come in and embody itself, strengthen you, fortify you. If you've been doing this work, so you know what I'm talking about. And I don't expect that for a greater part of our lifetime, if at all, we will ever be done if we're doing that work with the task of bringing more and more of our consciousness into our incarnate self. And that hasn't always been the case. I know that, of course, there's been mystics and philosophers and theosophers, I don't know how to say it, all kinds of incredibly intelligent and spiritual individuals, men and women throughout history. But, of course, we don't have anything in recorded history that has ever said that a conscious collective awakening has ever occurred the way it is right now with so many people. So here, the first card that came out from the mystical shaman is the Ancient Ones. Yeah, you've got more than ancestors. A lot of times ancestors come out for me with that card, but with the water coming out right after it, you can see the planet Earth inside the sphere as well, and kind of cloud formation swirling around it. But it also is telling me the distant planets that are in distal observation, because they can project and inject their consciousness and their awareness across space and time, for that matter. And so you've got some incredible support, again, with the Ancient Ones. I'm seeing, I was highlighted that white bar across her nose. So I wonder if you're experiencing one or more of your more rote sensory abilities being dampened a bit right now, which usually tells me, when I experience that something else is really going to kick up, an internal sense, as well as then in the after effect, whatever sense was dampened, auditory, sight, smell, touch, that will then of course be increased once the internal more etheric and quantum sensorial abilities have had their upgrade. And so it might specifically be the nose, because I'm also drawn to the bridge there between the eyes. So that then of course would be more of an inner sight. Funny, it's just like more and more is opening. So we've got across the nose, and the olfactory system is fantastic for being the first rote sensory system on the human body to go straight into the memory center of the brain. And then between her eyes is another highlight, I don't know if you can see it, which is really pointing to the inner sight, just below the third eye. I was trying to say another word that had nothing to do with it. But then there's also a line across her mouth, which for me, it's not speaking about speaking. It's speaking about, our lips are so sensitive and sensual. And so it might be something worth investigating. What happens when you touch food or water to your lips and you allow your lips to really experience the backstory of whatever it is, the water or the celery or chicken or whatever. Allow yourself to experience not just the history and backstory of whatever it is that's touching your lips and its life, but also the nutrients and the wisdom throughout all of time, every consciousness that ever contributed to that one piece of celery throughout the history of all of time. And allowing yourself to be taken there. Allow yourself to see it through your third eye. Allow yourself to smell all those experiences of 10,000 years ago in, marshlands and what we would consider weeds, but they were the first of the lineage of the species celery. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Okay, so we're gonna stop on that. We're already up to 25 minutes for the fire signs. Let's pull it quick. I'm not gonna go into it too much. Here we go. You've got the bee. Our trans-dimensional, defying gravity and the laws of physics creature with the starscape in the background behind the sunflower. So yeah, the sunflower is the obvious thing, but look what all the history and all the wisdom through all the cosmos and all the stardust that created everything that led up to the sunflower and its little itty bitty pieces of pollen, little stardust representations of its origin that the bee collects and does his business. So I will read the last little paragraph that went with the excerpt from our Tao of Pooh, again, Benjamin Hoff. And the author was speaking of the word Tao, the way, meaning the way. What could we call the moment before we begin to eat the honey? Some would call it, I did not plan that. Some would call it anticipation, but we think it's more than that. We would call it awareness. It's when we become happy and realize it, if for only an instant. By enjoying the process, we can stretch that awareness out so that it's no longer only a moment, but covers the whole thing. Then we can have a lot of fun, just like Pooh. And the paragraph ending this from the book, Winnie the Pooh. And then he thought that being with Christopher Robin was a very good thing to do, and having Piglet near was a very friendly thing to have. And so, when he had thought it all out, he said, "What I like best in the world is me, and Piglet going to see you, and you saying, 'What about a little something?' And me saying, 'Well, I shouldn't mind a little something, should you, Piglet?' And it being a hummy sort of day outside, and birds singing." Happy solstice, my friends. Thank you for joining me on this reading, and blessings to all of you fire signs and all of you with fire in your charts, which is Toros Logos. All right, much love, everyone.